Hiya, hello, welcome back. We're still talking about how to manage challenging relationships. And today we're going to look at self-reflection. Self-reflection as one of the strategies to manage challenging relationships. Because most often when there are challenging relationships, we look at the other person. But remember, as I said in Africa, when you point one finger, four actually pointing back to you. So at this time, it's not necessary to confront your friend or your partner or your colleague, who you have the conflicts with. But it's time for you to allow the person to self-suit. You also self-suit, but you go back and carry out what we call self-reflection. When the Bible tells us to examine ourselves and be sure we are still in the faith, which is we should take a step back once in a while to examine ourselves to be sure we are still in the faith. So self-reflection just basically is stepping aside, looking inward into ourselves to examine our emotions, to examine our thoughts, to examine our behaviors. And this practice of introspection or self-reflection help us to identify personal triggers that we have, right? Some of us have personal triggers, while and also some of us have biases, that is opinions that have been formed for years. And based on that opinion and the other, you're unable to let go or allow the other person to have his way. Because of that, this can cause influence our interactions with people. Our interactions with people are based on our formed, our mold, our personalities, our personal triggers and biases. Biases are just how your opinions that has been formed for many years, right? So it's time for you now to step aside and sit down and reflect about what happened. And we call it retrospection, looking at yourself, looking within yourself right now. Because when there are conflicting, challenging situations, most often we look at the other person, giving a reason why this person should talk to us like this, why things happen like this, why you have been disrespected. But no, it's a time to allow the person to self-soothe and withdraw within yourself and carry out what we call self-examination. We call it self-reflection or self-worth introspection. When we talk about reflection, you must come out with a lesson learned. That lesson learned will help you next time to know what you should do, how you should do it better, what you would have done that would have been better, and what you wouldn't have done. So that is what we do under reflection. So how do we carry out self-inspection or introspection? Number one, you must allocate time, right? You must set aside regular time for reflection. Every day you must reflect. If you have a conflict with somebody, challenging behavior, controversy, clash with somebody via communication, via understanding, definitely it's time for you to sit down every day and reflect on what happened and be able to sit down and plan and know how to do it better next time, because situations, to fail once or to have disagreement once is not the problem, but when it repeats itself it becomes a concern to everybody. So you must you must set aside regular time for self-reflection, and this could be maybe daily, it could be weekly, but quality time must be set, and you must be consistent in setting time to look at yourself to be able to balance up your relationship. Why are you having conflict with your loved ones and your friends? So after you set out the time, number two, you must have a journal. You keep a journal where you record your thoughts and feelings during challenging interactions, because the essence of keeping this is to help you create a pattern of knowing the triggers to it. For instance, I've counseled so many couples, you know, and some of the patterns why there are challenging situations in some of them is because of poor communication. And what are the triggers? The triggers could be like submissiveness. The other person refuses to submit. The other person refuses to respect. There is no food. Denial of sex. Disrespect to in-laws and family. So these are possible triggers that if you keep if the person keeps a journal, from the journal he can be able to see these are the triggers that makes us quarrel. How can I manage it? These are the triggers that makes my partner shout on me. These are the triggers that make my wife withdraw from me. These are the triggers that makes relationship breakdown from one breakdown to another. Sometimes we hold the devil responsible, but actually it's because lack of wisdom how to manage things, and then being able to identify that we are our worst enemy, and we are human beings. But with training like this, we can be able to tackle and what are the triggers, right? The triggers could be that the person borrowed money from you, he has not paid and is asking for more money, or the triggers could be that the person is repeating the same pattern every time, expecting a different result. Because actually, it is insanity to do things the same way and expect a different result. You are going to get the same thing because it's predictable. Success is predictable, failure is predictable, anger is predictable, betrayals are predictable based on the pattern set. So when you have a journal, it helps you to record your thoughts and feelings during challenging interactions. So if these are the things that trigger me, these are the things that guide my biases and opinion and choices. These are the things that people behave like this. Some people could just be, they're too traditional, they're too, native. Because of that, these are triggers. But if you want to make sure the relationship succeed, then you must have to strike a balance. So let's move forward. The next thing is you ask for feedback. And this area of feedback is where most of us, especially from the African race, have actually failed. We don't like truth. We don't like positive criticism. Most people want to be praised, want to be told what they will hear. But when you try to advance forward, they ask for feedback. Feedback, whether good, whether bad, it is constructive feedback. And how can they improve on that? And they are very happy to receive it. When you come to team building and teamwork, there's what we call the Johari's window. Johari's window is what divides our personality into four patterns. Because talk about feedback, this will come from trusted friends, this can come from your mentor, this can come from a psychological therapist. So we have things you know about yourself that others know about you, right? There are things others don't know about you, you know about yourself. There are things you don't know about yourself and others don't know about yourself. That's why we say we're treasures in earthen vessels, which means there are some things in our life that we have, but we don't know we have them. These are capacity and potentials that God knows we can do more than this. Nobody know your capacity. You don't even know your capacity. You are just trying, but God know how far your end will be. So these are treasures in earthen vessels. So listen again. There are things in your life that everybody know, and they tell you to it. You are celebrated for it. There are things in your life everybody know, and you also know. There are things in your life that you don't know and nobody know, but there are things in your life that what everybody know, you don't know. We call it the blind window or the blind spot. So if you have a blind spot, it means there are areas in your life where people can be able to correct you. People can point to you that you are good in this, you are good in this, but in this area you need improvement. So in terms of positive feedback, this will help you to sit down and identify behaviors that you are not aware of, right? I know somebody that if you stay with the person for just 10 minutes, you know everything about his life, about his family, everything about his capacity. And human people are not supposed to know everything about us. They need to know just what they need to know. There are some things that people should know, but not every detail about your life, because a person's blind spot is that he talks too much, he's too loud, he's too aware of self, right? So those things bring conflict because you're always talking about yourself, your achievement, your past, your future, but your friend or your partner, there's no room for you to even know about her achievements, about her goals, about how has her day been. You come out for work, you're talking about yourself, what happened at work, but your friend or your partner, your wife, your spouse has no chance to express her feelings, have no chance to express how her day has been because of domineering personality. So people need to know what they need to know, they're not supposed to know everything about you, right? So everybody needs a positive feedback from friends, from mentors, from loved ones that are not afraid to tell us the truth. The truth is bitter, but it's actually better because it helps us to become better. But if you run away from the truth, we normally say something in our dialect that if you refuse correction at home, you'll be corrected outside. If you refuse private correction at home, you'll be corrected in the public, because at home they've seen these areas of your life you need to improve. It's a dark spot. Many of us can deny it, say it's not true, it's not me, it's not me. But that person that is seeing your blind spot, your dark spot, areas not visible to you, have seen and is trying to make you better. So if you ask for positive feedback, this can help you to grow your team. This can help you diffuse conflict. This can help you understand people better, and this can help you to say the things you need to say. And this will also help you to identify triggers where there are biases, triggers where misunderstanding comes in. So let's move forward. The next one is talking about Mindfulness is a time where you just have to become aware of your thoughts and reactions. You sit down and you're aware of your thoughts and reactions, and you put your Bible. He that can guide his mouth can guide his life. The tongue, the smallest part of the body, but the tongue can set a forest on fire. So we are mindful. In mindfulness is a strategy that helps you are mindful of people you discuss with, you are mindful of things you say, you are mindful of where you go to, you are mindful of the comments you make. So when people make some comments, you just keep quiet and look about it, because if you are not mindful, a word spoken cannot be taken back. Any word that go out of your mouth cannot return. It has been said, and we are held by the words of our mouth. So in summary, don't forget what I've just said now. I said this: one of the strategies to manage challenging behavior is what? Self-inspection or retrospection. In this reflection is help you to identify your triggers and biases, and how this can influence our interactions with others. Right? If I know what triggers fight, maybe you shout on people, you curse people, you are not patient with people. If you know these things, you try to hold back and allow that to stay. So then strategies, you have to allocate time, you have to keep a journal, you have to ask for feedback, and you have to be mindful of what you say, mindful of our behaviors, and mindful of the people around you. So what are the importance of self-reflection right now? There are basic importance, which I've said. One, it helps you to identify triggers. Self-awareness allows you to recognize what sets emotions on fire, what sets emotions in reaction, because action and reaction are equal and what? Opposite. Action and action and reaction are equal and opposite. So it helps you identify triggers and helps you to pinpoint areas of improvement. This will help you to control your responses to people. At times people say something to me, I'm just quiet, because if you speak out, it can hurt the person. If you speak out, you will be surprised that this person with of also high esteem can say this, so just hold back, right? If I've counseled a couple before, and I've told a man, if you have to be a fool for this marriage to work, be a fool, because during the counseling, the wife was talking, taking over the whole meeting, don't allow the man to talk. What she wants leadership. So if she wants leadership, let her be the leader, let there be peace. Let there be peace, right? Because if you keep on have to tell your wife every day you are the head of the home, you are in charge, it means you have failed already. So some things we must let some things go for peace to reign. We must let some things go for peace to reign. Two people cannot fight at the same time. Two mad people cannot be in the same house at the same time. One must be a fool, and so that one must be a fool. In quote, just let peace reign. Number two, you must understand your bias. We all have biases based on our experience and our upbringing. Self-awareness helps you uncover biases and prevent them from negatively affecting your relationship. Biases can negatively affect our relationship. Some will say some tribes, you can't trust them. Some tribes can't do business with them. All these are biases, and because of that, it has affected some relationship that will bring breakthrough to our lives. You're right. So the third is effective communication. When you're aware of your emotions and thoughts patterns, it enables you to communicate more clearly, calmly, even in heated discussions. Right? Somebody defined education as a proof of being calm in the midst of anger. It's not about certificates. It's not about. We have many people that have masters in business administration. They cannot manage even a phone call center. We have people that are professors, but yet they cannot invent anything. So education it goes beyond ability to read and write, ability to be innovative. It's also ability, capacity, to be calm in the midst of anger, to be calm in the midst of tension, to be calm. We saw what happened to our footballer by the weekend, Victor Osimhen, how he was ranting online against accusations from his coach. It shows level of education and level of training and level of how to manage challenging relationship. That misunderstanding would have been managed more and bring him out as a more mature person in that situation. But it has reduced his value, reduces the training the parents have given him, talking about nobody can talk to me, issue of pride, issue of biases and opinion. And such people, there's a ceiling how far they cannot go. So you see, when you're aware of your introspection of yourself, it helps in effective communication, because it helps to be calm in the heat of discussions, when there's heated discussion and argument. Capacity to be calm and just watch gives you strength to manage challenging relationships, because anger are triggers to aggression, anger are triggers to insults and causes, and anger have caused so many irreparable deaths. Finally, when you are self-aware of your inner self, It helps you to be empathic. Empathy is self-awareness. It enhances your ability to empathize with others, right? When you understand your struggles, you are better equipped to understand others. When you understand your challenges, you are better equipped to understand other people's challenges. Just imagine that you've tasted poverty and suffering before. So anytime somebody is suffering, ask you even for small money, no matter how small it is, you make sure you give because you have been in that situation before. Right? But if you have never tasted poverty, you've never tasted hunger, when people ask you for something, you just say, no, sorry, I can't give it to you. If you have tasted illness before, you will understand what it means for somebody to ask you to pray for them to be well. If you have gone through divorce, gone through heartbreak, disappointment, betrayal by partners before, it helps you to understand when others are going through this same situation. You don't mock at them, but you're able to understand with them that this phase also will pass because time is a healer. Thank you for tuning in. And personally, personal growth, when you have understand yourself, we call it self-inspection or introspection, it helps your personal growth. Self-awareness is a path to personal growth. It allows you to work on your shortcomings and develop into a more resilient, adaptable individual. So it doesn't matter your character right now. It doesn't matter your behavior. It doesn't matter how you see things. It doesn't matter how you communicate. It doesn't matter your triggers, right? It doesn't matter what triggers anger. It doesn't matter how you were brought up, your frame, your form, your experiences. That right now you are like multifaceted. Nobody can understand your behavior. Small things gets you angry, bitterness, depression. Nothing can please you. It doesn't matter if you identify these triggers and you put them down and you work on these shortcomings. I'm telling you, you are going to develop into a more better person, into a more resilient person. You will develop into a more adaptable person. You will develop into a more loving person. So my question for you before you go is, what are the biases in your life? What triggers argument in your life? What triggers betrayal in your life? What triggers tension in your life? And what triggers people fighting you? Sit down, look at yourself, examine yourself, write them down, and make up your mind to work on those things to become a better person. But remember, in a relationship, when you say, I'm sorry, you are forgiven. Tomorrow again, you repeat it, I'm sorry, you are forgiven. How long will you continue to say, I'm sorry? It's time for you to rise up, work on those biases, work on those things, on those characters and behaviors that are affecting your relationship, and be a better person. God bless you. See you same time, same station.